Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to take a look at WebGL and how we can use that inside a React component. And this is going to be quite a few episodes, so stay tuned. So to start things off, we're going to create a new folder and we're going to name this WebGL. And inside of this we need a main index.js file. We also want to import React as always. And then we're just going to create a default export class here, and we're going to name this WebGL as well. Then we need a render method, and inside of here we want to return a canvas. And we're going to give this some properties, so we need an ID. Let's name it WebGL, and then we need a width and a height. Just going to set those to 400, and then we also need some styling so that we can actually see the canvas, so a border. Just going to create a black border there. Now we can take this component and we can import it into our other file here, and just make sure that we use this down here. Great, so now if we open the browser, we should see a canvas here, and we do. So that is really good. The next thing we want to do is just to create a component didMount method, because inside of this is where we're going to initialize the WebGL context and everything that belongs to that. And then we want to create a new folder here. I'm going to name this init. And just give this an index file as well. And inside of here we want to export a default function, which is going to take in the ID of the canvas. And then we want to actually extract the canvas here. So const canvas is equal to document.query selector, and we're just going to query this ID. Then we need to check to see if the canvas is actually existing. So if it doesn't, then we just want to return. Now to extract the openGL context, you can type canvas.getContext, and what you need to pass in here is WebGL. And we also need to bind this to a variable or a constant. Canvas const, of course. And then we need another check here just to make sure that the GL context has been initialized correctly. Otherwise, we'll just return. Now, we're actually going to create another folder here, and I'm going to call this GL Commander. So this will also have just an index file, and this will be a normal JavaScript class. So class GL Commander. And this will have an init method, and this will basically take in the GL context and just bind it to this class. And inside of here we're going to put all of our GL commands so that we can easily access them and group them together, and it will make our code much easier to handle in the future. And the first method we need here to actually see anything at all is a clear method. So create this clear method here, and this will take in 4 parameters, R, G, B, and A values. So when we call this method here, the screen will get cleared with these specific colors here. So we're going to call this.gl.clearColor, R, G, B, and A. And we also want to clear the old data from the previous frame. So this.gl.clear. And the thing we want to clear here is the color buffer bit. You can also clear the depth buffer, but we don't have any right now, so we're just going to keep it as it is. Then we want to create a new instance of this GL Commander here. So const glc is equal to new GL Commander. And this is the thing we want to export. So export default GLC. Now we need to use this class, so go into the init file and just import GLC. And now after we've initialized the GL context, we can also initialize GLC, so glc.init, which is the method we just created there. And just to test things out, we can actually call glc.clear. And this takes in 4 parameters, as I said earlier. So let's clear it in a red color. And these are float values. Remember that, from 0 to 1. Okay, now we can use this. So go back into our main index file and import this. So we're just going to name this init. Oops. Init. And then we want to call this in the component did mount when the canvas is actually mounted. And then we just want to pass in the same ID as the canvas has here. So now if we check this out, we have a red canvas because we've cleared it in that color. Now we've only done this once. We actually want a loop to clear our screen after every frame. So the way we can do that is to create a function called render here. And this method would actually, just going to put this in this method instead. And when that is done, we want to request an animation frame. So window.request animation frame. And then after we've requested that, we want to call the render function. So this will run in a loop. And then in here, we want to call the render method again with the request animation frame functionality. So this will be an infinity loop, basically. And the way we can test this out is if we create a variable called r, and we can replace the r value from the clear method here with that. And then after every frame, we can just add some value to r. So r is equal to r plus, let's say, 0.01, like that. Now if we run this, we can see that it gets redder and redder because we're running this in a loop. So this is the base setup for our openGL stuff that we will do in the future. So the next time we're going to take a look at how we can draw a 2D quad to this, and after that we're going to texture that quad. And for that we're going to use something called shaders. So that is for the next episode because it's a big subject and I can't cover everything in this tutorial. So please subscribe so you don't miss anything, and I'll see you next time. Thank you and bye.